So good afternoon. How is the voice? Is it audible, echo, fine, perfect? Good. How was the food? So I wanted to tell you something which Sanjay did not tell you while he was briefing about the logistics, that there is a quarantine room outside, because most often after the lunch there is a virus which attacks people. That's called PLS. You know what is that? What is that? What is that? Yes. Post-lunch syndrome. So just in case if we detect that that has actually caught you, you are going to be put in that room and you are going to be given an antidote. So did he tell you about this? There is a quarantine room outside, okay? So be aware of that. Cool. So we'll start? Fantastic. So actually a couple of weeks back, in fact, I think a couple of months back, while I saw Scrum Day India is going to be happening, and then I spoke to Sanjay and I said, hey, that's a great opportunity to meet fellow PhDs. Gunther is coming, so that's a great opportunity. Gunther is one of my mentors. And then I was thinking that what should I talk? And I did not had a title for the talk. And Sanjay was like, hey, give me something, give me the topic. And I was like, I'll get back to you, right? So whenever I come home from my office work, my kid, his name is Shlok, he's 6-year-old now. The first thing he will ask is, Papa, aaj kya banaye? What should we do now? What should we build now? And we have lots of Lego blocks, and then I was like, let's build some building, right? And he's very fond of building buildings, so we created buildings. And then he said, we should build a road also. Okay, we built a road. And then he said, okay, you take the other side, and I'll take this side. And then we kept, and then he became sad. And I said, what happened to you? Then he says that, I'm just wondering that how would people communicate between this building and that building, and how would they collaborate? How about the community building, right? Synergy, because he just learned learning and sharing in school. Fortunately, now kindergarten students are learning all those things. And then I was like, okay, let's do one thing, right? Let's give them enable with technology. Let's give them iPads and iPhones so that they can communicate. And my kid says, no, Papa, I think we should build bridges. We should build bridges between the buildings. And I was like, wow, this is going to be the topic for my talk, right? Building bridges instead of creating walls. Highly inspired by Scrum.org initiative about building bridges between frameworks and methods, right? So we are not going to have a framework debates or method debates. So how can we build bridges? That's the intent of this talk today. A little bit of me. I am happily married. Now I've validated with a hypothesis. I have a 6-year-old now, right? Son. So that's no more an oxymoron. So happily married can go together, right? I have lots of credits for this talk to two gentlemen. Steve Porter, who is also one of my mentors in my journey of being a PhD and continuous journey. Steve is a team member at Scrum.org. He was a formal accredited Kanban trainer. He was also part of the founding members of the LKU. And we have Yuval. Yuval is a fellow PhD. He's also an SPCT. So they have done a great job in terms of bridging the frameworks together. Okay. How many of you wants to play bingo today? Cool. How many of you have heard about bingo? Raise hands. So on your tables, there are some sheets like these, okay? And I want to apologize in the beginning itself, just in case if somebody does not have it, right? So in that case, you might want to pair up with your whoever is next to you, right? So that's a good one. We need such people, right, who are voluntarily telling that we have something extra. Okay, so what is going to happen is, throughout this talk, we are going to, either I'm going to say some things, or you're going to see some things, or we are going to explore some things together, which are there on this sheet. And once you see that, recognize it, you put a cross mark or a tick mark or a circle. Once you have the full house, which means everything is covered, right? Not fastest 5, not first line, second line, every full house, then you have to shout out loud, Scrum on. And you will be counted as, yes, number 1. First 5 people are going to be receiving some surprise gift from me. End of the talk, right? And I'm pretty sure you're going to like that, what you're going to be offered, right? Cool. So, before we proceed, I'd like to take a statement. Scrum and Kanban are stronger together. Now, when you hear Scrum and Kanban stronger together, do you feel a sense of affirmation because you believe that, yes, they pretty much complement each other? Or you are a little irritated. You feel that, no, man, come on. Because you belong to one of these camps, right? Either a Scrum camp or you are a Kanban camp. So I want you to form pairs very quickly. It doesn't matter whether you are forming your pairs in the table or not. Very quickly, I'm going to do the time boxing for you. So pair up with somebody in 1 minute, discuss what comes to your mind. What are the thoughts when you hear this term, Scrum and Kanban are stronger together. And then 1 minute is over, I'm going to ring this. Let us do the test. So once you hear this, 2 of you have to find 2 more people. And then you are going to discuss that, hey, when I discussed with this person, this is what we discussed, right? Okay, what did you discuss? And I'm going to give it 2 minutes to create a homogeneous, understanding of whatever you discussed. And then I'm going to give 3 minutes for each group, and we will see whether we can hear from each group, at least from 1 or 2 groups, to hear if something really stood out in your conversation. So the objective is clear? 3, 2, 1, time starts now. Switch. I want 2 of you to find 2 more people and discuss now. Time starts now. Stop. Okay, so just in time I've decided to cut down the time, right? Instead of 2 minutes, I gave you only a minute because I believe that you can even take half an hour and still keep discussing, right? Okay, so we would like to hear from each group what stood out in your conversation, right? What came out? What kind of thoughts emerged? So, yeah. No specific order.
Hello?
Is it not working? Okay. A little louder.
Hello. I feel like Scrum is a kind of a servant process framework, and Kanban is a kind of a method. And actually, for the pillars of empirism is transparency, inspection, and adaptation. So Kanban, definitely we can visualize the flow. So it will definitely improve the transparency so that we can easily inspect and adapt. Okay. So it will go together.
So maybe we can use the Scrum Man wherein we can have the WIP limits in Scrum board, there is no harm. We can meet daily in the Kanban meeting and we can talk about what we have done. And nobody's stopping in Scrum to you to deliver in after the sprint.
Yeah.
So they goes together, they are really good. I mean, they
Okay.
can go together.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other group? Okay, please go ahead.
Talk about the three categories, the artifacts, roles, and the events. So for roles, we have a similar roles in both, either in the Kanban or the Scrum. We have Scrum Master, Product Owner, and the development team. If I talk about the artifacts, we have the product backlog at in both the frameworks. Both talks about the transparency, And if we talk about the events, we have all the events, irrespective of the name. We used to have a release planning in Kanban. We have a sprint planning in the sprint. We used to have daily Scrum in the Scrum. We have to have daily Scrum in the daily planning meeting in the Kanban. So in terms of artifacts,
So you see a lot of similarity in both?
a lot of similarity in it.
Okay. Anybody else wants to add something? Okay. We'll take one more. Okay. One more. Yeah.
Yeah, we also feel as a group that the Scrum and Kanban work hand in hand.
Okay.
Because Kanban talks about visualization and limiting work in progress, and which will help us in focusing on many things, and focus is one of the key value of the Scrum.
Wow. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Please take your seats. And I'm sorry for the folks who did not get an opportunity to speak, but there are so many myths, mysteries, and misconceptions, right? People, because I hear these things in the industry. Let me know if you also hear, right? Scrum is revolutionary, Kanban is evolutionary, right? Scrum is for fill in the blanks. Development, new development. Kanban is for maintenance, ticketing system. And there are many more, like, Scrum sprints sprint plannings are waste of time. Kanban teams do not collaborate. Scrum teams are, sub-optimization, and people are talking all those things. Lots of myths and mysteries. So today we will try to bridge that gap and try to understand, right, how they can coexist together. What can we have best in both? So for all the Scrum teams, so this is what I ask people, especially in India, you will understand what is the origin of Ganga, the river Ganga? Gangotri, right? It is not Allahabad or wherever you see Ganges river, right? The origin of Ganga is Gangotri. The origin of Scrum Guide. That's the single source of truth. So for all Scrum teams, Scrum Guide applies simple rules of the game, and which are binding the roles, artifacts, and events to maximize the value to the user. When you add Kanban in a Scrum context, Scrum is still Scrum. Nothing in Scrum changes. Kanban Guide is one of the offerings from scrum.org, and this is also very, very similar to Scrum Guide. Simple rules which are binding. How can you leverage the Kanban practices to improve your Scrum, to maximize your Scrum, right? This game has already begun, right? Because you have to identify what we are reading or listening, and you have to circle out. Of course, I'm going to honor whatever you say, right? There is no validation of that. Okay, I'm going to offer you a couple of experiments which you can try in your Scrum teams to maximize Scrum using complementary practices from Kanban. Sprint planning. The focus is same output, lesser effort. So how do we improve our sprint planning? Thanks to Sanjay, because he made my life a little easier by introducing evidence-based metrics to you before the lunch. I'm going to tie some connections to that. Use historical throughput to forecast to the product owner that how much volume of work this team is able to forecast, right? So use some evidence-based metrics to improve your sprint planning. So flow metrics, right? Couple of flow metrics which we talk, how can you improve your sprint planning? Work in progress. The number of work items started but not finished. So WIP is one of them. Cycle time. Now, the whole world is getting mad between cycle time, lead time, right? The whole idea is to understand that the elapsed time between when a work item starts and when a work item finishes. when the development team pulls an item to the sprint backlog and marks it as done is the cycle time for that particular item, right? So you measure the cycle time. Work item age, the elapsed time between when a work item started and the current time. This is a great metric because this tells you that what are the wait times, where are the bottlenecks, where are the delays. Say for example, you have an item which is lying there for 5 days in progress. That tells you a lot about what is happening, right? And then throughput. Throughput shouldn't be mistaken as velocity. Throughput is number of work items finished per unit of time, right? So these are a couple of flow metrics which could be used to improve your sprint planning objectively. This is my favorite one, daily scrum, focus on flow, stop being zombies. How many of you know what is a zombie scrum? So let me demonstrate it for you, right? I like it. So this is how this happens. Everybody will come together, they will stand maybe in front of the scrum board or Kanban board and they will say, okay, this is the PBI or user story I was working yesterday. I will keep working on this today. Hashtag no impediments. Come on, give me a break. Zombie scrum is happening. What is happening? Okay, I'm still working on this. I'm still working on this. I'm still working on this. No progress. So what could be a better approach? A better approach could be focus on the sprint goal. Focus on the sprint goal and keeping the goal in mind, do not try to focus on individuals, right? A very deadly pattern of a daily scrum is we go person by person, round robin, and this person will say, and then other person, until that time somebody else is checking WhatsApp, right? This is what is happening, right? Some people, I see some nodding heads. Yes, this happens, right? Right? Bringing laptops. Yeah, yeah. Because they have already given a status update, already. So what could be a better approach? So improving it, so work the board right to left. Right to left, work the board, because what you try to do is what has been accomplished, what is marked done yesterday. Okay, what is blocked? What are we going to do today? Focus on the PBIs, not on the person, right? Sprint review. How can you improve sprint review? Remember, I said about improve your sprint plannings using flow metrics. Now, inspect and adapt, validate how much of that has been achieved. What is the impact you have created in the sprint review through those flow metrics? That could be a great opportunity for you, right? So, what is our current throughput? Because that is going to help you. Say, for example, that a team I was working with, I checked that, hey guys, what is your average feature cycle time? And they said, our average feature cycle time is 4 days. I checked the product owner. So how many items do you have already in the backlog which you think are ready? He said that 50 items. I said, you have 200 days of work already in your backlog. Imagine you work with your sprint review and the stakeholder says that, hey, you know what, can you please give me this particular feature? So how are you going to manage? You do not have a lean backlog now, your backlog is fat. So understanding the cycle time can really help you to do more economic trade-offs. You getting it? Okay, how does that impact? So these are certain things. Retrospective. Okay, so I know that Sanjay is favorite retrospectives. Everybody, right? If you are to talk about one event, you will talk about retrospectives, right? So make it more quantifiable. Currently, most of the retrospectives are qualitative. Hey, this is what went well, didn't go well, and improvements, we are an improved team, nothing much to improve, right? So make it quantifiable. How can you make it quantifiable? Look into the cumulative flow diagram. That what's our average cycle time? What is the, what is the WIP? So that will help you to do a more meaningful discussions inside the team. How can you improve? So definition of done. A team can actually inspect and adapt during retrospective. Similarly, it's a great opportunity to also inspect and adapt the workflow. Every team will have a workflow. A most simplest workflow could be to do, doing, done. But then a team might start like that. Similarly, like a definition of done, saying that development done, testing done. But then you might want to, come on, very good. So I'll try to remember, right, that you are the one. So it's a great opportunity for you to also inspect and adapt your workflow during retrospectives, right? Scrum values. Let's see. Litmus test. Oh boy. So we will see. First I know very clearly, and then we'll go with the other four. Again together. Wow, fantastic. Okay. So litmus test. What does a Scrum team commit to? Bang on. What creates more focus inside a Scrum team? Sprint goal. What else? What else apart from sprint goal creates more focus? Anything else? What does focus? So Gunther talked about it, right? The Yagni principle. Focus on the simplest thing that might possibly work. This is what is focus. Time boxing creates a lot of focus inside the Scrum team. Courage. Courage. What is courage in Scrum context? Pardon? Courage to do right things, not to deliver the next feature which will not be used. Very good. Courage not to include any undone work as a part of your increment, right? Openness. Open to feedback, open to change direction when it doesn't make sense. Respect. So, these are Scrum values in a Scrum context. How can you apply it to Kanban? Commitment. Commit to deliver continuous flow of value when you are adding Kanban practices to the Scrum. Courage, moving from utilization thinking to flow way of working. Right? 100% utilization is economic disaster. So you don't want to do that. Focus on limiting WIP. Identifying bottlenecks and delays. Right? Openness to progress of work and our ideas of improvement. Respect each other as capable and independent people. You want to know more about Scrum values? I have another mentor of mine who is sitting just here, Gunther, and Gunther has written a lot of great stuff about the Scrum values. That's the link. You can actually go through that. Yeah, it came now. Yeah. Okay, I want to close it. There is a lot of people. Every company is doing Scrum, right? So there is like a stampede going on, right? Like Scrumpede. So there is a huge gamut of the companies which are doing Scrum, and out of which there is a small knit group of companies which are doing professional Scrum. Like this, there are a lot of companies who are doing Kanban, and there is a small group which is doing the Kanban in the right way. And the intersection of those two things is where you find where the magic happens, right? So Scrum and Kanban, they are stronger together. They are complementary, right? So I have a request to all of you. You may belong to one of those camps. You may be a purist, but try to have a little bit open mindset and think that instead of thinking Scrum versus Kanban, Scrum or Kanban, see how can you add Kanban as a complementary practice to improve your professional Scrum, right? That's something which I want to say, and I'd like to thank all of you for your time, and I hope I don't have to quarantine anyone and give an antidote, right? So I hope that, and this is the time for now. I have 5 books with me. These are few of the books which is something which I really love reading them. Not all of them is related to Scrum, by the way, right? So I know that one person actually told the first time, so this for you. So what I gave him was John C. Maxwell, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, right? Very much relevant to the role which you are playing as a Scrum Master. Who was the second one? Oh boy. Okay, so he already has it. So maybe you want to give it to your. I will give it back to you. And I decide who. This is for you. Thank you. Okay. So who was the second one? Okay, so I have a book, and this is one of my favorite books by Carol Dweck. The book's name is Mindset. If you have read about growth mindset, this is the book, right? Have you read it? Okay, this is yours. Sorry. Thank you so much. You're welcome. So, who? This is the third one. 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. So.
थैंक यू ये तो दे दो ये चीटिंग है
I'll come there. So, okay, Paulo Coelho. If you are somebody who wants to develop a reading habit, so that's the book, right? Like a flowing river, one story a page, amazing book, all right? And this is a book which is written by two fellow PhDs, Ralph and Don, the professional product owner. If you will ask me, recommend me one book in Scrum product ownership, that's